answer to your question is, it is achievable, and I'm totally in support of, all of the things that the Taiwo Oyedele committee is doing, our committee is doing. We need to say to ourselves that if we have been behaving badly for 100 years, it doesn't mean we should continue for another 100 years. It is time to sit down and look at what is right. And you're right, the taxes that actually produce the meat are quite few. Some may argue and say, well, there's some taxes, maybe marked taxes, that may not provide significant amounts to the economy, but because of what they are being used for example, if you have a tax, let's say something like the education tax, one might argue for its retention because it's a sector-specific tax. For example, if you have a tax, let's say something like the education tax, to go around that. One might argue for its retention because it's a sector-specific tax, or increase the tax rate of, say, VAT, for example. But I'm not advocating for increment of VAT. But I'm just saying these are innovative ideas that government can, or increase the tax rate of, say, VAT, for example. And I'm not advocating for increment of VAT. But I'm just saying these are innovative ideas that government can, ideas that government can. But in terms of whether we need to harmonize taxes, if it was even possible to make them lesser than 10, I would say less possible. Why? Because at the end of the day also, administrative, why? Because at the end of the day also, cost of compliance, administrative on the part of government, the cost of compliance, if I have to account for 10 tax types, and I have to account for, if I have to account for 10 tax types, trust me, it's easier. 5 tax types, and better for me. And then also if you then want to do some audit, better for me. And then also if you then want to do some audit, how it was collected, even in terms of the whole collected, how it was collected, even and harmonize. It is easier to automate and harmonize and harmonize 7 taxes. It is easier to automate and harmonize 300 taxes.
Is it possible for us to
automate and harmonize 300 taxes?
Is it possible for us to get less than 5 taxes or even less than 5? Is it possible for us to have like 5 taxes or even less than in the tax community? For those of you that are tax, work within the tax community, of course you did. Now you're in Taiwo Oyedele's committee. That committee now you're in Taiwo Oyedele's committee. That committee will have plenty of but people are possible.
So that you have that divergence, many people views and so that you have that divergence.
Yeah, but what I can give to Taiwo Oyedele's committee, which you are. Yeah, but what I can give to Taiwo Oyedele's committee, which you are, is that I see a lot of experts. So you guys know what you're doing. And Nigerians are really looking at you. So you guys know what you're doing. And Nigerians are really looking at you. Yes, more than this, my glasses.
And imperative that the committee succeeds. Also makes it imperative that that is why succeeds. Just I think your question was, so that is possible to just have less than. Was less than 5. Maybe have less than.
Less than 5.
Maybe AIT. You can invest a little bit and say, okay, you can invest. It doesn't have 774 local governments.
So we should Nigerianize our system.
Well, we will have to find a model that works for us. So where I'm going is that, you see, implementation and enforcement is going to be a big issue. Why? Because even if the federal government should say, look, I want 7 or 8 taxes, and they pass a law, the thing is that what happens on the ground? What happens in the states? What happens when you decide to leave Abuja and you are going to Lagos? When you get to Lokoja, what happens if some boys block you there on the road? What happens when you drive further down, you get to Ore? So at the end of the day, we should find something that works, and the states are going to be very critical to this. They are going to be very critical because the federal government cannot be everywhere. And that's why sometimes when people say, oh, the federal government, I understand. I also do it. But honestly, sometimes the federal government is not as powerful or as omnipotent as we assume it is. What can the president do? Can he arrest a state governor? Can he tell a state governor not to impose particular taxes within the state? He can't. He can only appeal. We have the Nigerian Governors Forum, and, a lot of collaboration and discussions are going on with them. There are other organs. We have the National Assembly, we have the State Houses of Assembly. So people also need to understand. We then have the Constitution too, which actually allocates taxing rights to each tier of government. Yeah. So are you also going to amend the Constitution to say the states cannot tax a particular... So there's a lot of work. But if we all understand that the goal is to get a fiscal system, a fiscal regime that enables people to pay taxes with ease, seamlessly, and also enables the government, whether at federal or at state level, to get all that is possible. Because what benefit is it if you have 30 taxes, but then of the 30 taxes you have, it is Michael who controls Life Camp. I'm the strong man there. I collect the taxes. Maybe if I collect 100, all I remit to government is 20. And then you have another tax type where Nancy is the strong man in Lokogoma. She collects all the taxes. She collects 100. She remits 10 to government. So at the end of the day, government itself is not even benefiting from the taxes. So at the end of the day, why not even automate and say, look, Mr. X, collect on our behalf. If you collect on our behalf, you can take a cost of collection. We can agree what that cost of collection is, and then remit the balance to us. And this model works everywhere. In 2011, we went to Canada. Incidentally, the current chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation, Senator Adiola, was on that trip. And I can see some of the ideas we got as far back as 2011 already playing out in his committee. And we studied the Canadian system. And one of the things they did in Canada was certain provinces had donated the powers of collection to the Canadian Revenue Authority. So collect on my behalf and then take a cost of collection and remit to me. And you can sign up today. You can say, okay, do that for me for 2024. And you can decide to back out in 2025.
So will that mean that the IRSs in states...
No, so
I'm trying.
Yes. Well, I mean, like you can have no. Look, Nancy. At the end of the day, what is the end goal? If I'm owing you money, what is important to you? Is it that you collect the money?
To get my money back.
You get your money back.
Anyhow you get it, I don't want to.
Exactly.
Know. So far you give me my money.
If Taiwo can help you collect your money from you, would you not accept the money when he brings it?
Yeah, but the other thing is that you may also the way of collection could be uncomfortable. You shouldn't, if I even want to collect my money back, that doesn't mean that you should go strangling people to get the money to give
so
to
that's
me.
the point I'm making.
Yes,
so that's the point I'm making. So that's the point. And you see, again, I'm not arguing in favor of the federal government so that nobody misquotes me. I'm not saying that the states should necessarily donate their powers to the federal government. But if there's a system in place, if someone has shown workings, as we say, and he has shown ability to collect efficiently, then maybe why don't you say to yourself, okay, you know what, let me try this guy's model or system. Let me key into it. Okay, so for example, a state might say, you know what, and already it's happening when we do audits, for example, in FIRS. The FIRS, which is not supposed to collect or does not have the powers to collect personal income tax, but if the FIRS is auditing, say, a company in Delta State, it may then look at the personal income tax compliance of that company. Now, most companies say, no, don't touch it. But FIRS say, no, I have a collaboration with Delta IRS. And so if I find something wrong, I'm obligated to tell Delta IRS. So what's the problem with that? Today we have exchange of information agreements, multilateral agreements with OECD. And so if, for example, a Nigerian company has funds which it is hiding offshore, the UK authorities, the German or the Dutch authorities would inform Nigeria and say, look, XYZ company has an account in our banks. So FIRS would then say, have you paid taxes on these amounts? How did they come in? And so at the end of the day, it's all about collaboration, cooperation, innovation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this 2024's budget. Perhaps if there are issues or there are concerns for you in terms of revenue generation, the forecast from the federal government is 18.3 trillion in terms of revenue. And I heard you loud and clear that you can mobilize internally the revenue that we need. Yeah, that was what you said earlier. But I'm also thinking what Nigerians are thinking. Nigerians that are watching us now are thinking. And they are thinking, if we are saying mobilize revenue, that means... And me and you will go fasten our seatbelts. The federal government or the government will come for us more because we have a tax to GDP ratio of, I think, 10% now, about close to 11%.
10, yeah. And we want to move it up to 18.
18. Your committee is saying about 18. So what that means is that a lot of us will be in that net. So how do we go about this? And is this achievable, really, this 18.3 trillion? Or do you think we also have the ability to make more?
Okay, so
make more. Companies are closing down.
Yeah. No.
GSK, yes. GSK. These are companies you get tax from now.
They're not closing down because of tax. But anyway.
No, but it's part.
Yeah, your point is made.
Federal government will lose that revenue.
Your point is made. Your point is made. So I think the first thing is let's just look at some of the parameters for the budget. So let us start from oil, which is, really where a lot of things are not working as they should. So there's a budget benchmark of almost $78. I think 77.96. Yeah. And then they've said production of about 1.78 barrels per day. If you look at what happened in 2023, we had about average of 1.33. Now, I did hear you mentioning that Brent crude today is 75. Okay, fine. But the average for last year or for this year has been about 81 thereabouts. So I think the challenge in that space is to say, okay, can we improve our production? Can we get as close as possible to our OPEC quota? In terms of what the crude price is, there's really nothing the federal government can do. So, and we don't want to hope that conflicts continue globally just so that the price of oil can go. So government needs to be clear about it. They need to allow, they need to do more in that space, in terms of incentivizing, new production and all of that. Now, when it comes to non-oil revenues, that is really where I think a lot of opportunity exists. And the opportunity is not tax. Nancy, it's not tax. Let us start from one of the issues that has been mentioned, privatization, the government-owned enterprises. For me, I think that a lot can be done. One very quick place where we can go is our refineries. I did hear the the DG Budget Office speaking yesterday, and they said, well, the outgone administration had, in its wisdom, decided to not sell but refurbish. I would say that as soon as you get those things moving, or in a shape in which you think people will be interested in buying, I think sell them off. Sell them off. Those refineries are due for sale. I think most people will agree. So if you sell, two things will happen. One, you can raise quick revenue, and then two, you are able to then get people who are serious-minded, who have funding to come in and revive the refineries. So what will happen is that you don't have to import petrol and all of that. You save revenue, you save your forex. That's one area. The second area is in terms of other assets. We have airports, we have stadiums, we have roads. So it is about how much do you, how are you willing to go in terms of maximizing these assets? Recently, the board of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated was, set up and all of that. So, and it's supposed to warehouse all federal government assets and all of that, investments and all. So, MOFI has a lot of work to do. We have a corporation called InfraCorp. I don't know if you're aware.
Yes, I am.
It was established, InfraCorp, exactly, 2 years ago. So, InfraCorp has a lot of work to do in terms of saying, look, we will go and look for funding from elsewhere. Certainly has to be external funding, fix critical infrastructure, then monetize them. Nancy, if it takes me 6 hours to drive to my village and I have to pay 5,000 naira toll, do you think I will not pay it? Yesterday, I was looking for a ticket to Lagos. A ticket to Lagos is about 190,000 naira. I bought a ticket, 250,000 on Sunday to travel on Monday. Exactly. So if I can drive 10 hours to Lagos on a smooth 6-lane highway, and you're telling me that along the road I pay a toll of even 20,000 to the federal government, I will pay that toll as long as the road is good and it's safe and all of that. So it's about also, looking within and saying, what are the things we can maximize? So that's one thing. The government-owned enterprises, they can do a lot. Thankfully, we have the model of NLNG that has really worked, and part of what I see the federal government said is, there will be dividends from NLNG, DBN, Galaxy, Backbone, and some of these other holdings. So the opportunities all exist. So it's not all tax.
It's time to treat yourself with Shop.
About 7.8 trillion
naira. But there's a debt servicing too of about 8 trillion.
That is, for me, that is the elephant in the room. 8.25 trillion is a significant amount for debt servicing. I really wish that money would just wake up in the morning and it would have disappeared from Nigeria's balance sheet. I wish we could call Houdini or any of these.
That's forgiveness.
I wish we could call any of these magicians, maybe Houdini or Professor Pella, to come and just poof. And
let it disappear.
But we have to grapple with it. We took on the debt. We must find ways.
Our capital expenditure is just a little bit over.
Yeah, just a little, about 8.75. So that is, for me, that is the real issue. We need to be able to shrink our debt service, however we're going to do it. And so when I saw new borrowings, I said, okay, fine. This is the first full budget that this government is implementing. So let's give them time. Let's see what they can do. Let's see how creative they can be. In terms of all of these other things, they say there's multilateral and unilateral loans, concessioning, and all, I think about 1.05. The Minister of Finance and Minister for the Economy was speaking, I think, at the budget retreat 2 days ago, and they said, they are going to be looking for concession, how did you put it, concessioning funding, and then climate funding. He also said, there are people who have climate financing, who have money. Fine, these are all things that you can do. You can come and tell someone, look, I'm going to build a road, but this road is going to be made of, I'm going to use plastics and all of that, maybe degradable material and all of that. So are you willing to give me, $300 million at 0.005, or even just give me a grant, as long as I commit to spending it in a particular way. Sustainably,
now,
exactly.
How much is time for you for this administration? Because you said, let's give this administration time. How much is that time for you?
4 years. Yeah, they were elected for a 4-year period. No, Nancy. You see, this is. Listen, let me put it. A government has 4 years.
No, I'm talking about, yes, a government has 4 years, but you're saying let's give them time. Okay, let me coin the question another way. How much is the honeymoon time for this government?
Nancy, I'm a football fan.
Me too.
In football,
it's 90 minutes, then you have extra time, then you have
it's
penalty.
Never over until the fat lady sings. In 1999, Manchester United, Bayern Munich, My cousin had already gone into the shower and given off hope. And I had to call him and say, Manchester United has equalized. Before he could wash his face and come out, I told him Manchester United has won. So, I understand what you're saying. Like, okay, at what time do we then begin to say, look, guys, what's happening? But I'll still say, look, it's a 4-year stretch. It's like a marathon. Let's watch it. Some things will happen right immediately. Some things may take some time. Okay. They will also need to learn the ropes. If you recall the Obasanjo regime of 1999 to 2004, it wasn't until the second term. You remember? We got the debt funding when we started, since we had the pension reforms, we had the tax reforms, all of this kicked in. So what were they doing between 1999 and 2003? They were not sleeping. They were planning. Now, of course, people are more aware. There's media, social media. People are more active. People want to take part, which is good. So I think the government needs to be on its toes. But for me, I'll say give them the 4 full years. Let's see what they can do. After 4 years, you can come back and mark their scripts.
Yeah. Michael, we have 1 more minute. I'm looking at my time.
No
and
problem.
I need to ask you this question. Other presidents accompany, no, not other President Buhari, because he started the finance bill.
Yes.
We have a finance bill 2023, and I'm seeing that there's no noise around it because presidents suspended. I didn't see a finance. I'm not seeing, or perhaps it could come, a finance bill 2024 accompanying this budget. What do you think?
No,
and that comes with incentives for companies.
Yeah, well, I'm not. Okay, so the finance bill of 2019 was excellent. It was great. We had revived it. The last one was Abacha in 1996. Then we had 2020, 21. By the time we got to 2022, I now felt, look, we had started also becoming you get a new toy, and then after a while, you just want every moment you are adding. So it's not a constitutional requirement that there must be a finance bill. In any case, do not forget that the government has set up a committee. That's the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Reforms. So let's give them time. The finance bill may come midstream. It doesn't have to come 1st of January.
And it's not compulsory that
it should come. And then it could just be that the government wants to sit down and do a holistic review of the tax laws. One of the things that I have criticized some of the finance acts is that you're doing piecemeal amendments of laws. Why don't we do a proper and holistic amendment of our laws, so that if you want to look for Section 32 of the CIT Act, you don't have to go and look here, then you look there, you look here. Oh, this one was amended in 2019, 2021.
So perhaps that's what your committee
I suspect that
will be able to streamline.
These are trade secrets, so I may not have to wait for it.
Thank you very much, Michael. I wish we had more time. It's just as if 35 minutes is over speaking with you right now. So we'll do this again.
No problem. Thank you very much.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
Likewise. Now, I've been speaking with Michael Ango, who is Partner Tax Advisory and Regulatory Services Group at Anderson. And we've been having a very interesting conversation. Don't forget that you can actually also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Moneyline with Nancy TV. Of course, this interview will be uploaded. Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see. I am Nancy Naji. Join me again tomorrow with another guest, another topic. I'll see you all again.